Good evening, everybody. What's going on? I absolutely am looking forward to tonight's show. Hey, Greg Brown was on the show just a few weeks back, the play-by-play guy, or I should say one of the play-by-play guys for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he offered one perspective. Now we're going to get a different perspective, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This isn't going to be a cookie-cutter perspective. It's going to be more of a realistic perspective because I get Greg's job. He's employed by the Buccos. He's got to be a little bit more political in his statements. But Gary Morgan's joining us tonight. Gary's going to help us with some insights, some predictions, and what I want to call a realistic outlook on the 2025 season. Because let's face it, baseball is, well, just a couple of weeks away. So sit back, relax, and let's rock with Gary tonight, y'all.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
You're going to call anyone that loves you. You're going to ask them if you can use their card to buy concert tickets because your card's maxed out. Okay. If they say yes, you get the tickets.
I can't call my parents because they already think I make bad financial decisions. Well, so I think I'll call one of my friends.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I feel tingly.
What's your not answer?
Giovanna?
Yes.
I was on SeatGeek earlier and I saw 2 tickets for Olivia Rodrigo at a really, really, really good price. So
Oh my god.
I maxed my credit card out by accident last week. Do you think I could use yours to buy the tickets?
Oh my god, yes.
Did I what?
Yeah, you got the tickets. You got the tickets.
I just want tickets. We're going to go to the concert together. Giovanna, I'll call you later. Love you. Thanks for picking up. Oh my god. I'm going to see Olivia Rodrigo.
Yes, thank you, SeatGeek.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, it's time to experience the O's on the Original Sports Podcast.
All right, we're back and at it. Hey, welcome, Gary. How you doing, my man?
Good, man. How are you guys?
I can't speak for Sheen, but I'm living the dream.
You're living the dream. I work from home, so you know I'm living the dream.
Oh, shoot. That's right. That's right.
Nice.
Hey, I love all the Bucco stuff behind you.
Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks. I've been collecting for a long time. Bull crap like this that I have nothing to do with. Start a podcast. I thought that's the best way to come up with a reason to hang this stuff behind me all day.
Well, I'll tell you what. You got some great insights. I read your stuff all the time. I watch you guys. You know, I love your five questions thing you do. I'm looking forward to chat with you tonight. I know you're going to be more of a straight shooter, whether it's pessimistic or optimistic. I think you'll be a little more optimistic, though. It was awesome talking to Greg Brown. I don't know if you got to check that show out, but yeah, Greg obviously is going to give us the politically correct perspective, and I appreciate that. He gave us some cool insight, though. Go ahead, Shane.
He did get me excited about the upcoming season, so Gary, don't ruin that.
I'll try.
All right, so since we're talking optimistic, Gary, why should we be optimistic about 2025?
If you have room in your soul to be optimistic about the Pirates, which I think that's step number 1. I mean, this offseason, it's been a gauntlet. You know, I mean, it's been filled with turmoil in the fan base. So if you're one of those people that has room in your heart to be optimistic, it's about this pitching staff. Okay. I'm 48 years old now. God damn. And I have never seen starting rotation set up like this with the backing that they've got on top of it. It's the deepest and richest pitching environment I've ever seen the Pittsburgh Pirates have.
Okay.
And that's a reason to be optimistic beyond even this year. That's setting up for continued success once you hit it. Even if they move on from the GM at some point, you still have that.
Yeah, I saw that the Yankees just lost Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm surprised they're not giving the Pirates a call for maybe not one of the top dogs, but you got what, Brashton Ashcroft, you got Thomas Harrington down there. You've got like 3 or 4 other guys. Even, I hate to say this, but even like a Bubba Chandler.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you could get like something for one of those guys that could come in and contribute right away, like a Jason Dominguez.
You probably could, but why would the Yankees want that? You're talking about a team that was going to go into the season with Marcus Stroman getting squeezed out of the rotation.
That's true.
I mean, they're not. This isn't like they have nobody to pitch. And if anybody, who they'd want is somebody like Keller.
Yeah.
And why would we do that? Like they're going to want one of our established guys. They don't want another guy that they have to bring on and teach and see. Nope.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens to them, though. Well, obviously, Stroman put himself back in a rotation when this happened, but at the end of the day, you still need a little depth in that rotation. Look, I think that's one of the, like you said, they're so pitching rich in Pittsburgh. I think that's one of the things that's going to help them be a contender. If somebody goes down, we almost assuredly can either pull somebody up or convert somebody over to a starting role for a while until they get someone back.
Yeah. I just think like when you're asking playoff teams to be interested in pitching, known playoff teams, like the Yankees fully expect to be in the World Series. The Red Sox fully expect, and they're hurting for pitching too now. They've just got another injury with Giolito, pulled his hamstring or something today. So you're talking about Quinn Priester getting a shot there maybe in their rotation. So that's kind of like not exactly ideal for a team that's set up for a World Series run. LA's got 9 or 10. So you talk about them calling the Pirates. LA could trade Dustin May and not feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they may want to replenish their coffers a little bit. Those are the teams that are going to move an emergency pitcher right now. The Pirates have all their eggs in the basket of pitching, taking them where they're going to go this year. Man, you can't afford to start messing with that too much. It was already risky moving Ortiz.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Gary, could you talk a little bit about the free agent signings? The good, the bad, the worst,
the ugly.
There were some. I mean, there weren't any splashes. I don't think I necessarily expected a huge splash, but I would say the one I'm most positive about is Andrew Heaney, despite the way he's looked in spring. You have to remember he started late. He's kind of notoriously bad in the spring anyway. He even was joking about it himself. It's not something to be concerned with right now, but Pham, I think it sounds like Pham and Frazier were brought in as character pieces more than anything. Like they want them in the room doing whatever it is they think they bring to the table. Like G1 Bay today had 2 singles that turned into doubles because he hustled out the box. And apparently, reportedly, yesterday, Tommy Pham took him aside after he had a hit just like that and said, for everyone in this room, that's a single. For you, that needs to be a double. And it happened twice today. So if you really want to make Ben Cherington sound smart, you would say that's exactly what he was trying for, right? Really, they wanted a cheap left fielder. But Tommy Pham, he started hot the last few seasons. I think the hope there is that he hits and then you trade him. My problem is they don't have that deep of a bench there. So I think that's why a lot of people wanted them to go out and sign somebody bigger. Reportedly, they're not done. And they threw out the date of the end of spring and said that they're largest move might be coming.
Who's it going to be? A Verdugo?
No, they already offered Verdugo $8 million, and he
turned it down.
He waffled and wanted to flirt, keep asking other girls to dance, and they decided to just pull the trigger on Pham. I think that's off the table now.
Oh, interesting.
Plus, Bay and Sawinski are kind of hitting right now and looking okay. So,
if we get something out of Bay, I'll be extremely happy because with his speed, like you need that. Yeah, I want to see Sawinski come around, but I'm not as convinced that Sawinski is going to be as productive as I think all the things that Bay can do would make him productive. You know, I mean, that excites me. And to be honest with you, the more I think about what you just said about Pham, the more I think about the great story that Greg Brown told us about Pham, the more I think it was a good signing. I mean, I know he has a chip on his shoulder, and a lot of people, you know, don't like the fact that he's such a fiery individual. But you know what? The Pirates don't have any fiery individuals. Nobody kicks anybody's ass if they screw up. It's okay to lose 12 in a row and fall out of playoff contention in July because, yeah, it's okay. We're the Pirates. Pham isn't going to let that happen, I don't think.
Yeah, I think I wrote in one of my pieces maybe a month ago or something, the Pirates coach isn't a table flipper, so they signed a cheap one that can play left field.
Yeah.
You know, because I do think they need it.
Right.
Shelton is everybody's friend in that room. Their best players are quiet. Reynolds is quiet. Despite Brian Hayes' injury history, he's still very respected in that room, but he's also a cricket. You know?
I can see that.
Like you don't have anybody that yells. Paul can command the room, and he will. But you need that guy that's on the field every day to be that guy. You know, like Roger Clemens couldn't lead the Yankees clubhouse, right? He can lead the pitching staff.
Yeah.
And, you know, and between Jones and Skeens, that'll happen fine. But like they needed something in that room. I'm not saying Pham was the right answer. I wish they would have done better than that. But he might fill the bill.
You had that with Santana last year until they let him walk. You know, they traded him away, and then they could have got him back at first base. I get his age, but
they could have had Carlos Santana any of the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, the truth is he was never a long-term answer at first base.
Right. And
every year you want him, you don't have an answer.
Let's take a look at these three guys. Let's look at Hayes, Sawinski, and Davis. Tell me what's going to happen with these three guys in the 2025 season.
Well, Hayes is impossible. Is he healthy? Is he not? I mean, I really like the swing change for him. Not a great sign that he's already been tweaked and down for a week. I know they're downplaying and everything, and I know they're also saying it's being extra cautious and all that, but not a good sign right out the gate like that,
right.
You know? So, I mean, with him, you know, you just thank goodness that you have like somebody like Triola who can really handle the position. I guess you hope he hits him out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, if it ends up being that way, maybe Hayes tears it up. If he just does what Hayes does and nobody's trying to turn him into a home run hitter, he'll hit doubles and singles all day. I mean, and I love his two-handed finish on the swing. I think it's keeping him more upright, so he's not lunging as much as he was. It's a good look for him. And it's the first time I've heard his father say something positive about how he's working with somebody on social media. So like, I'm going to go ahead and take it as a good sign that good things might be a front there if he can stay healthy. Sawinski, if he makes the team, you know, I think he'll start against most right-handers. You know, they'll probably give Pham some of those too, just to make it feel like he's not the backup or whatever, right? At least at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But if Jack does half of what he has done in this league, aside from last year, he's essential to this team. They have absolutely no power. And here's a guy that's hit 26 in the league. I'm sorry, this team can't afford to fart on it. Just like they can't with McCutchen. People are telling me, oh, McCutchen's just taking up a spot. Well, McCutchen hit 20 home runs last year. What guy's he blocking that's going to do that?
Right.
Show me that guy, and then I'll agree with you. And then Davis is a crapshoot, man. Number 1 overall pick, again, changed his swing. Defense behind the plate, to me, has blown me away this spring. Way better. What a step forward there. I have no questions about him being a good defender. I think there's a very solid chance he starts out the season as the backup catcher. And I think the reason that he should is because Joey Bart has never played more than 92 starts behind the plate in a single season. There's going to be plenty of room for the backup to play a lot.
If Bart starts smacking the ball again this year, could he move to the DH? Could he take grounders at first? That way you could play Morgan and Davis and Andy Rodriguez behind the plate?
Could. I think eventually he'd be the DH. He'd be the one I would pick out of those three as far as defensive deficiencies. Joey Bart has a good arm, but that's it.
Do you feel like they stole him? Like I felt like when they got him from San Francisco, they got him for a song, I felt.
He was a waiver claim. So yeah. Of course I do. But I mean, he's again, this will be the first time he's ever put 2 good seasons together if he does this, because it's the first time he ever put 1 good season together last year. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And let's see how far he can go. Like when I'm talking about like how many games he can actually catch, I have my doubts that he can catch 100 games. That's going to leave a lot of room one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And defensively, he is not that good. And with you're building everything on pitching, it's going to be essential that they start getting a glove back there. So I do think he'll probably slide to DH, and they probably will have a situation like that at some point. Who knows, though? I mean, like, Andy could be the backup. It really could be any of those three. It's only going to come down to how many at-bats they think they all need to get.
Got you.
Hey, so earlier we discussed pitching being the strength, and last year the bullpen was supposed to be a strength. Do you think it will be this year? And if so, why?
Well, I said it a lot last year, and I was wrong. So I'm not going to say it again this year. But, I mean, I do like the mix right now. They've got good depth with the lefties. They've had some pretty good signings. Like Caleb Ferguson is no joke. He's a really good seasoned veteran lefty. So is Waltz. And I know that he had a bad season last year. Kid just did not like playing in New York, man. Like, I mean, he's a pretty good player. I think he's going to be a good, solid lefty. Barucki is looking a lot like the 2023 Barucki, even though he was an NRI.
Mm-hmm.
He's a minor league signing, so they can start him in AAA and then bring him up whenever they want to. They've still got this other kid, too, Joey Wentz, that looks kind of okay. They could have 3 good lefties that start the season. Majinski's coming along. Holderman looks sharp. Bednar looks back to normal, if not even a little trimmer. And I kind of love what I'm seeing from Eddie Yean, the guy that they traded for Josh Bell 4 years ago, along with Will Crow. Eddie Yean looks like he's on track to become the closer in AAA and then move right on up into the bigs. I think it'll be impossible to see this season go by without him making it up here. The kid looks lights out.
I just read that today.
The sinker has such depth to it. It's so sick. He reminds me of Felix Bautista a little bit.
Okay.
But he's not quite as big, but he's still like that big hulking looking guy, man. And he has such downward plane on that sinker. I think it's a weapon. So can't wait to see it. But yeah, the bullpen's got depth too. And then some of these starters, like Braxton Ashcraft you just talked about.
Yeah.
That's a kid that if you cut him loose in the bullpen, he's throwing 101, 102.
Holy shit.
You want him starting, 97, 98. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Braxton Ashcraft has a cannon. And you could easily see him move into the back of the bullpen.
Well, with all that depth that they have starting role,
Yeah,
but
so I like the depth a lot better this year overall for the pitching. So, and I think that helps the bullpen because we won't be staffing it for half the year with waiver claims. Although Dennis Santana, who I didn't even mention,
I was just going to ask you,
was a waiver claim last year that, hey, that worked out too, right? So you could have a Jason Grilli on your hands there.
Yeah, I just read where they were talking about Innie from the Nat, the guy we got from the Nats, how he is not going to be able to be held back in AAA. They expect him to be up. And will that make Bednar potentially? Will that make him potentially a trade candidate?
I wouldn't have retained Bednar personally. I would have gone out and signed a closer, or kept Chapman, for the upcoming season. Now that they did, okay, I get it. I'd extend him right now for a year or two because he, next year is his last year of arbitration.
Yeah.
I would extend him for a year or two if I was going to do anything with him. If not, I'm trading him at this deadline or the off season, depending on how he's doing or how we're doing. I mean, if we're winning, you're not going to trade your closer, but I would consider it like this off season. And yeah, I think they have potentials. Colin Holderman has that kind of arm. He really does. Kyle Nicholas has that kind of arm. Eddie Ian has that kind of arm. I mean, they definitely have some closing, but Ashcraft I talked about. They do have some guys that have that kind of potential.
Isn't it interesting that this is the guy, the Ian kid is going to be the guy that ended up being like the guy that we got in the trade from Josh Bell, as opposed to Will Crow, who people thought we were going to get something out of?
I don't really think he was overlooked at the time. Actually, I remember some people saying that they thought he might have been the prize of the deal. I wasn't one of them. I had just started covering them at this point, so I definitely didn't know either of them. I was just, okay, got to trade Josh Bell. But yeah, I remember some people for sure writing that Eddie Ian was the prize, but he was like a lottery ticket that just got tossed in at the end of that deal to finish it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'd be great if you turn that into something. That's awesome. And it makes up for completely swinging and missing on the Starling Marte deal because looks like Leobar Peguero isn't going to make it, right?
No, they sent him down today.
Yeah.
They sent him down today.
He's really struggling. Like, just doesn't look the part. I don't know. Doesn't even look to be like that happy kid that he was when he was trying. But he's been on the 40-man for 4 years with no MLB impact. You can't have that. No. Even though he's 23 years old and it's early to give up on him, 4 years on the 40-man's enough.
Yeah, maybe he's a guy you can package off and get something in return. They've got to figure out another bat, though. Like, I think they need another big bat. Just one would be okay, I think, to help them out in some way, shape, or form. My belief has always been that if they can plug somebody in there, it's going to make everybody else around them good. It's going to make O'Neal Cruz see more pitches. It's going to make Brian Reynolds see more pitches. Even though Reynolds is a hitter, somebody else who's more of a professional hitter from that perspective is just going to help them. So,
I hear it. I get you. They don't agree. They're either, it's not even that they're not interested in spending the money. I've reported, Dan Kovacevic's reported that they have $100 million budget. They're allowed to spend it. They haven't. There's money to be spent out there if they want to. First, I don't really see the big bat on the free agent market right now. Now, that's on them for it being that case that it's not there, but I don't see it. And on the trade market, the things that the Pirates would want to pull off, they would want somebody like Weiler Abreu from Boston. He's like, he's a first-year player. He's a Gold Glove caliber fielder, good hitter. He's going to struggle to crack that lineup all the time. They have way too many lefties and need righties. They need pitching depth. We have pitching. It's a great matchup and everything. You could pull off a trade. But Weiler Abreu is one of those guys who could be a star, or he could be this. He could be a star, or it would be like trading for Nick Gonzalez. He looks promising. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So is that how you want them to spend some of that pitching? Okay. You know, I mean, I've suggested go ahead and try with Boston to trade Bubba Chandler straight up for Roman Anthony. Number one overall.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Like, let's just do it right now. Neither have debuted. Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
We need offense. You need pitching. Let's do it. And I think Bubba's going to be a star, right? So, and I think Roman Anthony is going to be a star. But that's the kind of thing I'd like them to explore, but that's more for the future. I don't want to trade for somebody like Robert Jr. who can't stay on the field.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I'm just not interested in taking somebody else's expendable. And I don't like most of what's out there.
No more reclamation projects. You know,
Not at this point.
No. I mean, they've got to put something together here. It's been, 5 years that Charrington's been there, 6 years, and his 3-year plan keeps getting extended another 3 years.
I don't know where you're getting 3-year plan.
Okay,
he never said that.
Okay,
he never
fine.
said that either.
Yeah.
There
is no plan?
His only quote is that he wants to build an extended, consistent winner here. They're not shooting for a window. They want to be Tampa. They want to be Tampa, and they think they're smart enough to be. And I don't. But look at what Tampa does. They build their pitching depth to the point where they constantly have a churning, awesome-ass rotation.
Yeah.
And all the bullpen fixins to go with it. And they slap them out the window for hitters as soon as they start reaching their expiration date. And they extend one every once in a while. That's what he'd love to try to sell you he's building. That's what I think he'd like to do. And the payroll will slowly go up here by like 2029, 2030. It should be up around 140. And that'll be the peak because that's when all these arbitration guys all come together.
Hey, how long is Skeen's going to stay in Pittsburgh?
I'd be surprised if he lasted beyond 2029.
Maybe you'll get a new owner.
Yeah, I could take.
Even if you got a new owner, it better be a crazy, crazy, rich, stupid one because this market can't support the contract that kid will get.
Yeah,
it just can't. You know, and I don't want to talk about it either. But but I mean, like, there's a lot to be taken from things like if you want to pretend you're Tampa, well, then you got to stone up and sell Blake Snell right after the World Series loss. No matter what the fans think. And you know why they can get away with it? Because they don't have any fans. They don't have a local fan base that's yelling and screaming and picketing and putting up billboards and crap. You know what I mean? That's why it never works here.
Isn't MLB going after the owner right now?
Yeah, but he's going after him because he won't settle on a location for the new stadium. And he wants the state to help fix the Trop up so that he can stay there and make it last longer. And they don't want to. So he's basically like, hey, let's get somebody serious in here that's going to quit threatening to move them out of St. Pete, Tampa.
The place is a dump.
It is. It is, but it's been a willingly accepted dump. And again, there's no fan base.
Yeah.
There's just no fan base. There is not enough people there that aren't fans of other teams, basically.
Wouldn't that be a push, though, for them to do something with Nutting? Though, I mean, he grossly underspends. He consistently is a loser, you know, with his organization. The list goes on and on.
Would you call me realistic? Right at the beginning? Would you call me realistic right at the beginning?
Yeah, I did.
No, he's not going anywhere. He hasn't done anything wrong.
Egregious, yeah.
He's following the CBA. The CBA allows for everything bad that happens in baseball. The CBA allows the Dodgers to go out and pay Shohei Ohtani $1 million a year and let their hedge fund basically keep that lump sum of money and continue to grow it every year, so they never pay him a dime of this actual contract by the time it expires, because they'll make the money tenfold in their hedge fund. All they have to do is produce it once a year and show, I could pay Shohei everything I owe him. And then MLB sees it and goes, okay, you're good. They put it right back in the bank. Do exactly what they were doing with it. And Shohei went along for the ride. He's happy to take that money because he's making more than that in endorsements.
Yeah.
The league does nothing to stop that. And like, there's 2 teams in the league that could do that.
Them and the Mets, or them and the Yankees?
Well, the Mets only because Steve Cohen's alive. Even he will get wised up soon. He's got financial advisors that are going to smack him in the face. Look at the team he's got right now. They have the most expensive team in the league. They won't finish 3rd in that division. Look at that team. They have no pitching staff at all. None. They stink. There are 3 Pirate starters that could go and be their 1, 2, 3 right now.
Wow.
Like, they're bad. And like, you look at like their actual lineup, they can't compete with the Phillies, Atlanta, Washington's even creeping up on them.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to spend that kind of money and suck. And Juan Soto can't play the field.
Yeah, no.
Well, that was the big thing that the Yankees looked at. You know, why do we spend all this money on a guy who can't play in the field?
Well, they offered him about $10 less, so they didn't look that hard.
He still took that deal. He still took that deal across town.
Yep.
You know.
Highest paid DH.
Anyways, this is way off rail from Pirates and all that, but no, Nutting's not going anywhere, and he doesn't even get grievances that are successful. The way the CBA is structured, you can't pin him down. Every dollar that they spend on that Dominican Academy is proper use of revenue sharing funds. They're allowed to do everything that they do, and you can't put a floor in unless you put a cap in. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I personally, I think 2027, it's going to be, this is me now. You know better than I do, but I think they're going to lock these guys out.
I think you're right. You're right. I don't think they're ready for the cap, though. I don't think this is the one where they get the cap, but I do think they'll get a tighter top of the mountain, a little bit more penalty for it, and they'll probably try to institute some kind of a faux floor. So it'll be stupid like that. But I don't think they're going to get it all accomplished this time. They'll fix like the pushing the contracts off, the deferred money's getting out of hand. They'll fix that. They'll do some other dumb things about like the minor league players. They got to give them a major concession. It's the first time they'll be part of the discussion as a union. So that's going to be a big thing. But I think TV money has to be right before you can do a cap. Until cable completely dies, and it has to die for the majority of the markets. You know, you need 10 or 8.
Guys, let me do a little station break for our sponsor tonight's show, Scotty's Handcrafted Vodka, made right here in Frederick, Maryland. Scotty's vodka is made from corn, so you won't find any gluten in it. They prefer potatoes drowned in cheese, not in the bottle. Check out Scotty's Handcrafted Vodka anywhere you buy your booze. How about that?
I like it.
Sounds like plans for the evening.
Hey, let me tell you something. Scotty's a great guy. University of Maryland graduate. He and his girl Jen, they throw a tailgater for every Maryland football game, and it's a fantastic tailgater. All they want you to do is go there, have fun, and get drunk. So take it for what it's worth, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, let's move on, Gary. Who? I wanted to ask you this, though. Okay, we know Skeens, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Andrew Heaney. Who's going to be number 5? Because Oviedo's he's not even in the running.
Bailey Falter.
Oh.
Yep. I mean, it's the 5's done. It's going to be Heaney, Falter, Mitch Keller, Skeens, and Jones.
At least you got two lefties in there, right?
I like it. Yeah. And I wouldn't worry about the order too much because I think they'll have to try to set it up so the home opener is like Skeens or something.
Yeah.
I think they play 7 games first, so they might have to monkey around with where they put him, like put him in the third slot or something to make that happen. I don't know how they'll do it, but
That's kind of
something along
exciting.
those lines. And then, Falter was good last year. He and Heaney are very similar as far as the numbers they'll produce, but they do it differently. I would like to get them separated, though, because you wouldn't want batters to see that slower lefty delivery 2 days in a row ever. I think you'd always want them separated by one of those flamethrowers.
Yeah.
So just to change up the eye location and everything and mess with their timing and not let them get settled in. But those are the 5 that they'll start with. And then at some point, you hope somebody like Mike Burrows takes a step. Ashcraft gets a shot. One of those two would probably be first, I would imagine, unless Bubba really blows the doors off. Thomas Harrington might be the best out of those 4, and he's coming just as fast. And Hunter Barco is going to start in Double-A, and I guarantee he's knocking on the door by the end of the year. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you about Double-A. Who's down there that, Solomito's kind of fell off the face of the earth because he had a good season, 2-3 years ago in Altoona, and then he just kind of.
He was last year was his first year in Altoona, and he struggled a little bit. But towards the end of the season, he started figuring it out. This year, he looks like he's come back with a little extra velo. He's still not close. I think he'll start in Double-A. And he's probably going to have to wait for a wave or two to go through before he gets up to AAA. But I think he's still a worthy cause as far as a project goes, but not somebody I'm counting on. I think Barco will fly past him, honestly. I think he's probably the best one from below the AAA level, at least.
How about position players down in Altoona?
Well, Cheng is probably going to start in AAA now. But he's probably the most exciting. Termar Johnson's an interesting guy. This team has not really filled their second base hole. Shortstop is still a question. Termar, if the bat comes along this year more, like it started to last year in Double-A, yeah, he'll finish the year in AAA. Could even get a cup of coffee this year if they wanted to get crazy. But I don't think he would because he doesn't need to for Roll 5. So probably next year he'd, in spring, feel like he had a real shot.
Oh, interesting.
But he'll have to beat out Nick York and Nick Gonzalez and everybody else, But, yeah.
Is Billy Cook going to make that team?
I don't know. He might. He can play first base. He can play the outfield. He can play all 3 outfield positions. They need a backup center fielder who's right-handed. So that might be his best avenue. He might be their best outfielder, too. Like, legitimately. He's really, really good. Well, besides Connor Griffin. I don't know if you've seen that kid.
Yes, I was going to ask you about him.
He's great. Yeah, I would think if Billy Cook's going to make it, it's going to be a right-handed first baseman and a right-handed reserve outfielder. The problem is they would need him to do both of those positions at the same time. So I don't know how that would work. I'm thinking like ahead to when Horowitz is healthy.
Okay.
But yeah, he's got a good shot to make it. He's on the 40, man. Nick York does too. It's only going to be one of them, though.
Hey, Gary, if any time this season, the regular season, this team needs an injection, who from Indianapolis you think can come up and give them that shot in the arm?
Well, let's see who goes there first. But, because it could be, let's say Jack Sawinski doesn't make it out of camp. I could tell you it's Jack Sawinski, right? Or G1 Bay. Those two have excited me in spring. But I'll stretch it a little bit because I think they do have legitimate problems at shortstop. I think Xiangxie Sheng could really kind of jump up here and get a shot to play some shortstop. He's a very talented fielder. legitimate shortstop, and lefty. You know, that they've already expressed they kind of like having a lefty that can play the middle infield. Chang might get a shot, especially if Piguero is really falling out of favor.
Wow.
So we'll see. I think he's a guy that you could look at. As far as the pitching goes, Eddie Yean, I already talked about. I think Eddie Yean's probably my stretch, like that could really come up here and help. But the starters, obviously, Bubba's going to be exciting. We'll see how long they can actually hold Bubba off. That's the thing.
It's amazing he was drafted as a he was being entertained as a quarterback at Clemson and chose the Pirates over playing football. I really like that about him.
Well, it's funny too. He gave up on his dream of being a two-way player like almost right away too, and focused on the pitching. And he flew as soon as he made the change. I mean, I know he's young to be where he is, but I bet if he made that decision from the jump, he's probably already in the league.
Is he 21 now?
He's 22.
22. Okay.
But he is just a prodigy level pitcher. Like he picks everything up quickly, and body movements are very natural. Everyone that talks about him learning new pitches, it's such an easy process. He learned 2 of his pitches from Thomas Harrington.
Wow.
In fact, Thomas Harrington taught Jared Jones his new 2-seamer. So, I mean, Thomas Harrington's like a savant a little bit when it comes to like teaching people how to grip the ball. He's been really helpful. Even Skeens gave him some credit. So, I mean, that's another one that people are not talking about enough. Thomas Harrington. That's arguably, I mean, he's like a number 3 type, I think, pretty easily in MLB when he gets here. He's that kind of solid, easily like a Mitch Keller type.
The guy that they brought in to help out with the pitching, his name escapes my brain currently, but
Strong.
Yeah. How's that going to work out? Because are those guys going to lean on him more than Oscar Moraine?
I'm sure some will. I'm sure some will like to talk to him more than they like talking to Oscar. But he wasn't brought here because Oscar was doing a bad job. He's brought here because, first of all, he reached out to them. He wanted to be involved with Paul Skeens and this pitching staff that the Pirates have coming.
Yeah.
And he's kind of known as a kingmaker in the league. He's a guy that has revolutionized pitching staffs, most famously in Houston. And I think they really want to get a couple years out of him, potentially. He started out talking about this being like a consultant type thing. Then it was a full-time gig. Now he's talking about the next couple years. I'm hearing his interviews. He's really digging the position. The players are loving having him around. I've heard Paul Skeens talk about it already. Bubba Chandler he had taken aside and after he had a really rough inning and worked with him a little bit. So I think it's going to work great. You can never have too much good pitching coaching. They have a ton of it. They even have Huey down in the minors that they got from Tampa early on. He's great. He's a lot of the reason that this train's kind of been created. So they've definitely done everything with the pitching wisely, and I think it's just a great addition. I mean, that's like a next level type thing. I wish they would think like that on the offensive side.
Well, they got Matt Haig.
Yeah, get him some more help. I know they got Vogel back, so that's actually interesting to bring in somebody that hits from the other side that Matt Haig does, and he notoriously has one of baseball's best eyes, and by all accounts was doing this kind of stuff for free when he was playing. Like you couldn't shut him up and not get advice from him if you wanted to. So
I know it sounded like I said Matt Haig tongue in cheek, but everything I've been reading about him makes it sound like he's head and shoulders above The guy that they got, the guy's name is escaping me. I forced his name out of my brain. He was so bad with these guys, but it sounds like he's head and shoulders above these guys. Just his approach at the plate and some of the things he's adjusted in some of these guys, bringing out a different mentality, even aggressive.
I think the first thing he does is he simplifies things. That was the one thing that all the minor leaguers that I talked to anyway would tell me about their opportunity to work with Andy Haynes, was that he was overdoing it with giving them information. Basically, there's too much data for me to look at. I'm confusing myself. It's getting in my head, things like that. The patient approach had become predictable to the point where other teams just knew the Pirates don't swing at the first pitch. And you can't do that, man. Like, you just can't do that. You got to ambush every once in a while, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I don't know. I'm hearing much more positive things from the players this year as far as liking to work with Haig. Haynes was fine for the established hitters. I know it sounds like you can blame him for like certain things, but blame him for guys like Davis struggling. Don't blame him for Brian Reynolds going into a slump or whatever. That's or don't blame him for Cabrian Hayes. That's Cabrian Hayes talking to his dad and the 50 coaches that he likes to talk to on the outside and constantly tweaking everything. And that's not the stuff that you get your hitting coach on. The hitting coach is there to maybe get a veteran out of a slump by just kicking him in the ass every once in a while, or ribbing him or something. The young kids, it's just, hey, give me the patterns and let me go. And that's what Haig's doing. He's more like a Zen master than he is, a hitting coach. He's not adjusting them constantly. Just give them the information quickly, digestibly, let them go.
He obviously couldn't get Rowdy Tellez out of that slump that he had for 3 months.
No, he couldn't. And part of that was Rowdy's fault too, because Rowdy changed his swing on his own right before spring, had nothing to do with Andy Haynes, then wanted to see it through, and then eventually went back to his dad and his old coaches and figured out what he used to do, came back. He never even talked to Haynes hardly about like changing his swing much. You know what I mean? Like,
thank God.
That's the guy they brought in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was supposed to know how to swing, not screw himself up before he got here. Look, he's still unsigned.
Yeah. Oh, wait. He didn't sign with Seattle?
Oh, did he? I missed it if he did.
I think he signed with Seattle.
Yep. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, are Sherrington and Shelton filling the hot seat out of the gates, and what would it take for this team to keep them around, if so?
I bet Shelton is. I would be surprised if Charrington was, really. I mean, for real. It's like, even you started out the show, you talked about like this 3 and 5 year plan. I mean, that's all fan made up. That was not said. He's meeting Bob Nutting's expectations. He's spending how much Bob tells him to spend, or not a penny more, and he's got his pitching staff at least to a place where it's enviable around the league. So, mission not accomplished, but he's certainly moved the needle. I think he could argue that he's got enough talent that it should be playing better. That said, he just tied them together this offseason. He did. That was probably a stupid thing. And if he gets fired, it's because he tied himself to Shelton willingly.
Shelton's not the right guy for this team, though. Do you think he is? His style isn't what a bunch of young guys need. They don't need somebody who's low key. They need somebody who's going to fire them up. And I don't know. When I think of a young team, I think of somebody who's going to get you motivated to play, not necessarily. And I know money should be a motivator. I know they're men and they should be motivated, but I kind of feel like Shelton, his 200 lost seasons, He had a 12-game losing streak last year that was unbelievable, and he came to the podium and gave the same mundane responses. You know, I don't know if that's a guy you want with a young group like this.
I mean, it's not really a thing anymore for Earl Weaver to be screaming at his players and spitting cigarette butts at them and kicking them down the hallway. That shit wouldn't fly anymore.
No, it doesn't fly in football or anything.
Well,
either.
that's what I mean. Like the days of like even Bill Belichick came to an end. You know, the commander of the sideline. Everyone listens to me. It's my system. But that stuff's gone. You know, like I get it. I pine for it too. I think about it a lot. I think the Cincinnati Reds just hired Francona, right? I think that's a perfect hire for a young team. He's done it before with a team that isn't going to spend its way into winning and knows how to make the most of his talent, knows what motivates those types of players. You know, transient almost, you have to think. Like they're going to be coming and going as that's the way I'm going to coach this team, right?
Right.
He just seemed to have a way to have teams like that come together. I think it's what makes Cincinnati a scary opponent. But Shelton, I don't know. Can you ever wash the stink of what has happened off? I mean, it was intentional losing. Let's not joke. It was intentional losing. They wanted to lose in 2020. They wanted to lose in 2021. They wanted to lose in 2022. They wanted to start looking better in 2023. They did. And they wanted to look better than they did last year. But, I mean, they started trying in 2023 to a degree. But they weren't giving him winners. They knew they weren't giving him winners.
He knew that too.
Well, of course he did. And so do you.
Yeah.
And yet here you are going, 2 100-loss seasons back to back. Of course he did. And yeah, and he had the equivalent of 3 if you want to count 2020 as a real season. But he's a starter coach. My wife doesn't wear a training bra either. You have to get rid of them. Yeah. When you grow out of them. And I think they've grown out of it.
That's what my point was. You need
that said, I feel like they want to feel like they gave him a fair shake, and they know they didn't last year.
Well, then they need to give him a fair shake this year. And if he's not performing, they need to get rid of him halfway through the season, because there's no reason this team shouldn't be competitive. You know, I know the bats aren't the greatest, but when you have a potential bullpen like that, a potential starting 5 like that, you know, if you stay somewhat healthy, you're going to win a lot of low-scoring games. But,
I would agree. If he doesn't win games this year, yeah, I would agree. I just don't know that he'll ever wipe the stink of what happened off of them. Think of how long they would have to win for him to have a winning record here.
He will never have one here.
Right.
Not in Pittsburgh.
So but he's going to stink forever if you just want to look at the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
You got to acknowledge what has been done to him, too. This team stunk on purpose. You know, and it worked, too. They got Paul Skeens. You don't have Paul Skeens if you don't stink out loud.
True. And at the end of the day, I'm happy they took Skeens and not Dylan Cruz. Even though they have
good, too. Yeah.
Huh?
He's going to be pretty good, too. But
he's
going to be generational.
Sure he is. Saw him play up in Harrisburg last year. I live, an hour from there. He carries himself very well. He really does. He actually, to be honest with you, he kind of reminds me of Harper in some ways, like watching his demeanor and things like that on the field.
What Harper's become.
Yeah.
Because
not what he was when he was a young guy. Yeah. I saw Harper play in Hagerstown. He was just way too full of himself. He didn't even have time for the kids. Like when you're playing in Hagerstown, low A ball, and you don't have time for the kids, I'm like, come on, buddy.
Well, he's a good example of maturing, though, because he really did grow. So he's like a lot like Joey Votto. Joey Votto grew on me as he became a late in his career veteran. So same kind of thing.
Hey, let's ask you one more question. I was going to ask you about some surprises in a positive direction, some things to look for, but look in your crystal ball. Okay. Tell us what you see this season playing out like to kind of wrap up everything we've talked about this evening.
Well, I'll start here. I think they're going to top 500 this year. And in MLB, that puts you in playoff contention. So I think you're going to be able to say this was a competitive team this year. I think it'll be better than it was last year. I do think they're light on hitting. But I think the pitching is so lights out and so deep that I think they could even survive injuries here and there and be okay to the pitching staff. In fact, I think they might trade from it at the deadline. Like, I think you could see them trade like Andrew Haney. Even Bailey Falter potentially, if you wanted to, and bring on something better, or replace them with Bubba, or get that bat that you really need, that you now have proven fully out that you need.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're going to watch play out. They're going to struggle. They're going to look great at times. It's going to really kind of be one of those up and down type years. And the NL Central is weird this year. The Cardinals are the only bad team. I think all the other four are going to be in a dogfight for the most part. Slight chance the Cubs are better than all of them if they hit on all their free agents and trades. Like if Kyle Tucker goes Kyle Tucker this year, and their pitching staff stays healthy, which is a big if with Jamison Tyon as part of it, and Imanaga, who throws that two-seamer that eventually is going to rip his elbow off. I mean, if those two stay healthy, then it's a good pitching staff. They got a chance. They didn't do anything in the bullpen. And Milwaukee just has devil magic still. Milwaukee has the devil magic the Cardinals used to have. And they just reinvent themselves year after year. They got a good shot, too. They got a nice young pitching staff coming. So those two, I think, gravitate towards the top. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, 3-4. But they'll kind of be within smelling distance all season long, I think. 2 or 3 teams could come out of the Central. It could be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Gary Morgan Jr., everybody. Tell them where they can find you, my man.
Steel City Pirates, Pirates Fan Forum. And then next week I'm the host of Locked On Pirates.
Excellent. So. Thanks for spending Tuesday night with us, Gary. Really appreciate it. I know you said when I hit you up that you didn't know if you had the time, but it's guys like you that help to make my show grow because you make the time. And Rasheen and I are really appreciative of it. So thanks a lot. Enjoy the Bucco season. Might have to circle back to you at some point, see where we stand.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
Take care.
All right.
Sheen, I told you he was going to give us a great outlook on how things are realistically, and he did. Yep. He brought an A game for us, and you could match it up a lot with what Greg Brown said to us in terms of things like Tommy Pham, the pitching staff. At that point, we weren't aware of Andrew Haney. We weren't really aware of anything going on at spring training yet. But we see a whole different side of things now that spring training's on a roll. So it's been kind of fun. I'm excited, like you. I always get excited for Pirate season. I don't fall off until they fall off. You know what I mean? They got to go.
Yeah, you're right.
They got to go on like a 5 or 6 game losing streak, and then they lose me.
It's like Pitt basketball. My brother said, "I'm watching Pitt." I said, "I've been stopped watching that."
Yeah, I followed it today. I listened to it because I didn't have access to it. But right now listen, us being Pittsburgh guys, we know it's a downtime at Steel City.
Oh man, so bad.
Hey, if you missed last night's episode, everybody, of Terrible Talk, our Pittsburgh Steeler podcast that we've been rolling with for the last 2 months, it was an excellent episode, and I highly recommend you check it out. It will drop on Thursday along with this full episode and audio. Sheen and I are happy to have you join us tonight. It was really great listening to what Gary Morgan Jr. had to say. Chief, anything to add?
Are we going to do another Turbo Talk this week?
We hope to do one on Thursday. We'll have to see how it plays itself out. Hey, you can follow us at our webpage. It's originalsportspodcast.com. You can check us out on Facebook, X, Snapchat at OSP with MM. You can check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those are Original Sports Podcast. You can find all of that in our show notes by clicking the link tree link that's in there, and it will take you to every one of our social medias, everywhere we have our show. Shout out to all our networks: Let's Talk Sports, Sideline Sports, Elite Sports and Entertainment, Manning Media, Peak One Sports, and PDF Sportsnet, along with streaming sports. Okay, national streaming sports.
St. Patty's Day, right? This weekend.
St. Patty's Day. Be safe out there, everybody.
If you're out there, get some of that Scotty's vodka.
Yeah. Make sure you check out Scotty's homemade vodka. Scotty's a great guy. He puts a fantastic vodka out there, and like I said, it's made here in Frederick. So not that means anything to anybody worldwide, but it is a good vodka. Made from corn and not made from potatoes, and that makes a huge difference to everybody. So thanks again for watching us. Don't forget to tune in Thursday. Hopefully, if you have a chance, look for the link to go up. You can email us at originalsportspodcast@gmail.com if you have any comments, questions, concerns. Shout out to Steve Medley and Charlie Hodgson for doing our voice intro and our music. And like we always say, join us next Tuesday to experience the O on the Original Sports Podcast. Well, that was fun.